Olá, bom dia. Carl Munson here with the Good Morning Portugal live stream, which goes out around, I should say around, rather than at 900 hours every weekday here on the Good Morning Portugal Facebook page. And then I bundle it up and stick it on YouTube as well for people who prefer to consume it in that way. It's also a podcast on various podcasting platforms, including the easiest one, potentially, arguably, and that will be Spotify. So you can find the Good Morning Portugal podcast on Spotify as well. Good morning to you, wherever you are, or if it's later in the day, obviously, insert the appropriate greeting. And great to have your company and to be on this adventure and journey with you, as difficult as it is at times. Good morning to you, Barbara. Thank you very much. Yes, pretty good here. And I think really, after we've had a look at the latest facts and figures as published by the Portuguese Health Service, it'd be great to talk about more of those lockdown lessons and husbands with heavy breathing that we went into yesterday morning. It was really funny, really great. And thank you to everybody who chipped in with where they were yesterday morning in relation to just coming back in from the garden, having buried the wife, or finding their husband a spare room, or sticking him in the camper van. Because of his heavy breathing and behavior that is more magnified in these up close and personal times. Mrs. M says, nice Barnet. Yes, I'm rocking the Grant Mitchell. Yeah, she did that for me yesterday. Thank you, Louisa, for that. It's like a sort of homesteader's Barnet, isn't it? Lockdown hair to the Shea Munson salon. Okay, thank you very much, Louisa. Yes. So, well, let's look at the numbers, the facts and figures first, see what's going on. There are a lot more recoveries recorded now, which is really great news. That's heartening and positive stuff. And, oh, look, here she goes. I've got 666 followers. Quick, lose one or get another one. Okay, so, yes, we're not superstitious at all here. Maybe somebody should leave the group to make it safer or invite a friend along. Dear, oh dear. Right. Okay. So, yes, the facts and figures first. Seriously, come on. We're going into all the subjective stuff. And that's normally the end of the show where we connect up with people. Good morning to you, Julie. Are you raising a glass or something there? Is that your breakfast, Julie, that you're sipping on there? What is it this morning? Prosecco or a little bit of espumante, Portuguese style? Anyway, good morning to you. Makes a change from porridge. Okay, numbers now. Let's go and have a look at the health service site from here in Portugal, DGS as it's known, and the website address covid19.min-saud.pt. And yes, look at this. Behind the confirmed cases numbers, and the northern region doubling that of Lisbon and its surrounding area, 6,706 confirmed cases up there in the north. Around Lisbon, just over 3,000. Central, where we are here, 1,500. And still, mercifully, the south of the country doing, you can't say it's doing well, can you? But it's all relative. Evra is, I guess, gives a very sort of far-flung population there, which may well help, of course. 84 cases, and in Faro, 229 right there in the south. So stay well as far as these numbers go. And heartening, as I said before, recoveries. Look at that. That was stuck at 45, it seemed. Then it went to 75, I think, yesterday. And it's all about the testing, isn't it? People can't be recorded as a positive recovery unless they've tested as being recovered. And there you go, 140 recoveries. And still, sadly, that number of deaths because of coronavirus and COVID-19, 311. Suspected cases, we're nearing those six figures, aren't we? 91,794 suspected cases in Portugal. So those are the numbers today. I'd be delighted to hear more of your lockdown lessons. The first thing you want to do when you want to get out of doors, when you're allowed to out of the doors, like I said yesterday, like a spring lamb, leaping across the paddock, unfettered as you'll be when the restrictions are lifted. Good morning to you. I don't know what to quite call you there. Ingram's Aida Jane. We're going to go with Jane, listening in from Tarragona, Spain. I've got a news story that I want to weave in from Spain. Spain is looking at being the first country to have universal basic income. Good move, Spain. But good morning to you, Jane. Great to hear from you. Owen, checking in. Positive things are happening for me. So glad to hear that, Owen. Fair to say, hold on, the fan heat is burning my leg. High-tech heating solution. Fair to say, roller coaster ride for you, my friend, at the moment. So I'm so glad to hear that positive things are happening for you. Do say more if you wish to. Julie, good morning. Good morning, Portugal. Yes, isn't it? Hola, bon dia, Portugal. And as well as having look, is this what you're worried about, Louisa? With 666 followers, my green screen would start melting, because it certainly looked like that. And Lilu Fay says good morning as well. Good morning to you, Lilu. Good morning to you, Julie. And of course, Jane and Owen. So let's have a look then. We nearly forgot to say hi to Gary, who has an extremely dry sense of humor, as dry as that beach there. I've had the COVID cut as well. Oh, is that what it's called? It's called the COVID cut. Fantastic. If you didn't see it already, look. A lot of fellas sporting the COVID cut. Not Owen, I hope, with his magnificent head of hair. Not you, Owen. Don't succumb to this. Good morning. Yes, positives are happening for you. Good morning to the Munson, says Owen. Thanks, mate. And let's go look at this story then from Spain, and the idea of universal basic income. I don't know if this is in any way official, or if it's one of those cheeky news stories. It's part of the kind of PR machine whereby governments kind of puff things out just to see if it's got support or not. They wouldn't do something cynical like that, would they? And I don't know. Wouldn't like to comment. Coronavirus, Spain to become first country in Europe to roll out universal basic income. Wouldn't that be a lot less complicated than, all these complicated systems that you seem to be seeing in the UK? If you are still working on the 28th of February and you can stand on one leg for more than 30 seconds, you might get a loan. That kind of thing. Wouldn't it just make more sense? Everyone's connected now, aren't they, with their bank accounts, better or for worse, with the government? Can't everyone just be paid an amount and have done with it? It will save so much money in the long term in terms of administration. Anyway, government plans to keep payments a permanent instrument after pandemic is over. This report from Kate Ng in The Independent, and trying to play a video whilst I'm talking. How rude! Go away. Or maybe we should watch it. I don't know. Spain is to roll out universal basic income, UBI, as soon as possible to mitigate the impact of coronavirus. Minister for Economic Affairs, Nadia Calvino, told Spanish broadcaster La Sexta was trying not to snigger, that is so immature, on Sunday night, that the move was intended to help families during the pandemic. But Ms. Calvino, who is also Deputy Prime Minister, said the government's ambition was that UBI could become something that stays forever. This is the quote: stays forever, that becomes a structural instrument, a permanent instrument. Funny, isn't it, how politicians speak? A structural instrument. So I won't read the whole thing, but it's great that is being considered by a national government. Picture of Boris there, of course, who is now hospitalized in intensive care. Wishing him the best for a speedy recovery, whatever your political views are. I just think it's a bit rough, isn't it, wishing poor health on people. I don't like him particularly or agree with his politics, but I do wish him well and a speedy recovery. Ms. Calvino here, who is the Deputy Prime Minister, must be thinking, like a lot of deputy prime ministers, this can happen. The leader can be hospitalized, and they're all thinking, what am I going to do in that position, as Dominic Raab is doing in the UK now. So let's have a look. Who else is who is present and correct this morning? Yeah, I thought it was Jane. People put their funny names up, don't they, on Facebook? AKA Zai. Hi Zai. Interesting things occurring in Spain yesterday, as we just revealed there, in terms of the universal basic income. And Dawn saying good morning. Morning, Carl. Raining cats and dogs in Loule this morning. That's unusual, isn't it? But I'll give you the standard platitude. We do need it. The plants need it. And I know your market there in Loule is fantastic. And I imagine all the lovely crops. We've bought plants in Loule, actually. And they were lush and vibrant, and obviously benefit from a bit of a downpour. An Algarve downpour from time to time. Okay, something a little more sobering, but I'm not sharing this with you just for the sake of being grim and negative. But it would be unnecessary. It would be just silly, wouldn't it, to just concentrate constantly on only positives Excuse me. And what the reason I share this is to think about what we can do in the aftermath of this. This is the important thing now, I think, is what are we going to do after this, when this is over, as it were, to use that phrase, phrase, or what it would be a hashtag now, wouldn't it? Hashtag when all this is over. And I see in my research for the show here, I don't want you to feel too sorry for me that I spent hours doing this research, because anyone who's watched Wrigley knows that that's not true. But I keep my eye on what's going on to an appropriate level. Let's put it that way. And I came across this from Reuters, which was published on the 4th of April. Portugal's coronavirus cases grow, 500,000 workers at risk of layoffs. So I thought I'd dig a little deeper into what's going on, or what's the prognosis for Portugal, and really what we're up against and what we might need to do in the face of that. So we've got our lockdown lessons. We're cutting our hair differently, for one thing. We're locking husbands in camper vans, etc., etc. And we're watching Netflix and telling each other, who was it who recommended Ozark to me? You are so naughty. I stayed up late watching that. Hooked, compulsive viewing. Anyway, that can also be shared in the comments, obviously. What are you watching? What are you hooked on? Whether it be Tiger King, Sally Forever, or for me now, Ozark. Bizarre. Things have come a long way since The Sound of Music. That's all I can say. Lisbon, Reuters, confirmed coronavirus cases in Portugal pushed past the 10,000 mark on Saturday. These are old news, that part. While government data showed more than 500,000 Portuguese workers were at risk of being temporarily laid off due to the outbreak. Now, that's the bit I'm thinking about. We are going to be heading for a recession here in Portugal. No doubt about that, is there? Can there be any doubt that it's going to be like the 2007, 2008 times? And as I said, I'm not sharing that with you just to be a doom monger. The thing is, we weren't particularly well prepared, were we, in 2007, 2008? I mean, on global terms, anyone who lives in a sort of capitalistic neoliberal society wasn't especially well prepared, because what happened after 2008? Well, roll on 10 years of austerity, and then this comes along and pushes us over. That's not textbook resilience in my mind. This is not a 100 meter. And isn't that beautiful? You're using a metaphor there, Health Minister Marta Temido. This is not a 100 meter race. And for the sake of fair play, they've put in the translation of that. And the metaphor doesn't work quite as well. This is not a 109.3 yard race. It doesn't have a same ring to it, does it? It's a long marathon. Health Minister Marta Temido told a news conference urging citizens to step up in their fight against the outbreak, as there was still no light at the end of the tunnel. Well, it depends how you look at it, but I get it in this context. This is the time to balance fear and courage. Courage to stay home, to continue helping others, to ask for help when we need it, Temido said. Good advice. Absolutely. Portugal has confirmed, and there are the numbers there, which are old news, as I say, as this article is from the 4th of April. Portugal extended its state of emergency by 15 days on Thursday and tightened measures to restrict movements, especially during the normally busy Easter holiday period. Now, that is going to be very important for Portugal and its social distancing mitigation measures, to see what happens. This is a big deal for Portugal, the Easter holiday. Loads of people want to move, normally do move. They're being asked not to. Let's see what happens. Portugal's once bailed out economy is struggling to cope with the outbreak, despite several government measures to help families and businesses, including a multi-billion euro stimulus package. A multi-billion euro stimulus package. It sounds great, doesn't it? Let's see. The central bank said last week the country would relapse into recession this year, with gross domestic product dropping between 3.7% and 5.7% in 2020. Last year, it grew 2.2%. In a statement on Saturday, the Labour Ministry revealed that 31,914, this is the important bit, Portuguese companies, over 30,000 Portuguese companies, mostly micro and small businesses with a total staff of over 500,000, 552,000 there, had already applied to be able to lay off their workers since the measure was reviewed a week ago. Importantly, in my view, the measure allows companies to temporarily suspend jobs or reduce working hours, but does not let them fire or make workers redundant. Now, this is what I don't understand, really. I mean, they won't lose their jobs for good, but they will be laid off and put on government benefits, I guess, coming via the company or going directly to the employee. And if and when things go back to normal, they get their jobs back. That's the theory, isn't it? But I think anyone smart at the moment is not going to wait for the government to sort all of that out. This is the interesting thing, I think, is that oh my goodness, more messages that I need to go back to. There I was getting on my soapbox about the global economy. And I'm going to come back to that because I want to say hello to everybody. Good morning from Sintra. Crazy weather, rain in Sintra. I think it takes a lot. Any kind of weather cannot dull the beauty of Sintra, though, right? Dhruba, good morning to you. Hannah, sunny in South London. Good for you. Parks will be full again then. Good morning to you, Hannah, who gave us so much mirth and merriment. How's it going with your partner there, if I may pry? Dawn, yes, garden is looking vibrant after several days of rain. Sending our best wishes to Boris Johnson for a speedy recovery. Absolutely, Dawn. And Julie Marsh says, we finished Ozark yesterday. Is that the right way around, Julie? Because I'm imagining Ozark is going to finish me with the levels of stress and tension and anxiety that I've so brilliantly written into that series. Is it worth me making it to the finish line like you have done there, Julie? Ozark, watch Hunters 2 on Prime. It's brilliant. Oh, Dawn, I need something. I do need the sound of music or a little bit of light relief. But then even with the sound of music, you've got Nazis coming in, haven't you? Anyway, that must be the case in the Algarve with the lack of tourism. Yes, with the layoffs. Okay, we're going back to the somewhat serious business, but I want to approach it in a light-hearted and positive way. You know me. Good morning, Carl, and everyone tuned in. Rain coming down in buckets here in Peniche. Good morning to you, Ina. Very good to hear from you, Ina Abranch. Gary Austin, I had an idea that anyone that has a holiday accommodation might want to donate a free week for health workers after the lockdown ends. I think they need a holiday after this. Boom. Yes, great idea, Gary. Thank you very much for that. And I'm laughing not because that's a great idea. Yes, of course, free week for health workers in holiday accommodation. And, the side benefit of that, it will stimulate the economy, won't it, as well? Getting people around and having a holiday and so on. Although I have to say, I am concerned about long-term sustainability issues around tourism. We've got to do that a little bit differently, haven't we? Anyway, the news from South London is that Hannah Downing's partner is by the bins waiting for collection. Ah, dear, oh dear, the humour is dark here on the Good Morning Portugal live stream. If any law enforcement agencies are watching, that was humour. This is humour, believe it or not. No need to investigate that. It's a joke. It's a joke, everybody. Okay, so yes, what are we going to do? What are we going to do at the end of this? What have you learned during this time that you're going to keep doing? Okay, not like cutting your hair like this and shaving it all off, and you whoever did it, or you did it yourself, you learn how to cut your hair, and as soon as you can, you go back to the hairdressers or whatever. What are the things that you've learned during this time? Is it about food growth? Is it about energy management? What is it that you want to keep doing after this is over, if I can use that phrase? What's going to stay in your lifestyle? And also, what do you want to incorporate that you haven't done yet? This is what I'm saying. This exercise at the moment is a test of our previous lifestyle. How the way we were living got tested, and the results aren't brilliant, are they? Let's face it. That's a big subject. It's probably a subject for another stream altogether, or a separate program. But for me, we started growing vegetables. There's the fermenting. There is, and I mean that in a culinary way. It's not just some sort of fungal infection that I shouldn't be sharing with you. But there's the fermenting. There's bread making. There's vegetable growing. We're homeschoolers anyway, but I think we're taking a slightly different approach to that now. We're kind of relaxed it even further because personally I think that's the right thing to do anyway. Is kids at the moment they very, very well may be sensitive to what's going on in the world. They don't need more pressure right now, and what is the right amount of pressure? But anyway, let's have a look. Pancakes, Louisa is saying. I'm not sure what that's not her pet name for me usually. Maybe that's breakfast. Maybe that's an innovation. We've got sourdough pancakes, folks, here at Shea Munson, at Casa Munson. And I have to say, they surprised me. They're really tasty, really nice. Yes, definitely. We did stand with our sheep for 3 hours, also in the field in the rain. So a rain report there from Julie. Hannah, never turned down an invitation out. Yes, absolutely, Hannah. A lesson learned there. Where we used to think, I don't really want to go out. No one's thinking that now, are they? Not listen to so much shit, pardon our French here, by people who haven't got a bloody clue. I'm not sure if that's aimed at me, Ron, or just generally, if that's a bigger picture view. You might want to elaborate on your fruity view and language there. Now, That's what we won't give up. Pancakes. Oh, I see what. Oh, okay, I see what you're saying there. Sourdough pancakes have been incorporated into our daily routine, and it looks like they will continue because they're a massive hit with the kids as well. But Ron, yes, you do make an interesting point there. I don't know where to begin with that. I really don't know where to begin with that. I did post up a meme this morning, along the lines of like, one of the good things about this situation is you don't have to mix with lots of people anymore, which, you could well be an upside for some sorts of people, for the sorts of people you're talking about there. I'm not sure exactly what you mean, but I've got an idea. We do. We're confused, aren't we? There's this absolute deluge of information. That might be it, right? Is how are we going to decide what is useful and not useful information to us? This is what's different, isn't it, about this current event, this phenomenon, the coronavirus COVID-19 phenomenon. There is so much invitation to information. So I'm getting confused with what Hannah's saying. There is so much information, and I was thinking the other day that if you were an older person, if you were sort of like your grandma or granddad in your 90s, and you were from an age where you felt obliged to reply to everything, as people did, I think, if you got sent a letter, you'd reply to it, and you would send thank you letters for your Christmas presents, and everything would be kind of dealt with and processed and completed. That's the thing. But there's no sense of completion now, is there, with the deluge of information? You cannot possibly cope with all the information that comes with you and respond to it in any meaningful way. And people who are brought up like that to kind of, feel like they should have an opinion about whatever comes their way, who feel they should respond with a thank you letter or something else. We're not living in those times anymore. We are awash with information and influence and stimulation coming our way. And I think the new skill may be in learning how to just, not even get peed off by it, just like kung fu it out the way, become a martial artist in these times, a ninja with what's coming your way, and or turn down your exposure, because that's an experiment we're in at the moment, isn't it? It's just what is the right amount of information and stimulation, and that's why everyone's so interested in meditation and mindfulness, etc., etc. So I'll leave it there. I won't keep ranting on, but I'm ongoingly, I am very interested in what your lockdown lessons are. What are you going to carry into the future, and how are you personally going to become more resilient in the face of what I think is going to be a very different future after this? If we think that from 2008 we had, certainly in the UK, 10 years of austerity, I think it's the same in Portugal. I came into it completely out of phase with what was going on here, really. The first time I visited was in that difficult time, 2007, 2008, and I had a great time here because, my world was different. But certainly felt the effects of austerity in the UK where I was living thereafter. And it took me 10 years to come and live here in Portugal because of a sort of result of a mix of factors. But we are going into something like that again, folks, I think. And the question is, for me, are we going into it like as victims, as sufferers of austerity and challenge and difficulty, or are we going to do something a little bit more magnificent than that? Are we going to listen to those inklings that we had to do this, that, and the other that was going to give us a more resilient base to live from? Alternative power, sustainable energy, renewable energy, those sorts of things. A bigger larder, not relying so much on the just-in-time supply chains and systems that have left us wanting. To be fair, it wasn't as bad as a lot of people were expecting, with the panic buying and with the disruption to the supply chains. But let's see how that pans out over time. Food prices aren't going down, are they? Even though the supply chains have recovered, the food prices won't be going down. I imagine the petrol price will go back up, even though it's an all-time low at the moment. And we have this era that we're going into, the post-COVID, the post-coronavirus era. Hopefully, let's get it under control first. I don't want to speak too soon, but yes, keep following the measures to get it down. And I know there are lots of challenges to the existing narrative about COVID and coronavirus, but what are we going to do? What you're going to do personally? That's what I'm particularly interested in. Where do we go from here? And we really shouldn't allow ourselves to be victims or recipients of these centralized systems that I don't think look after us very well, as we're seeing. But we'll see. I was totally overwhelmed by the David Icke, like that's a nice curveball. Zai brought into here. I felt totally overwhelmed by the David Icke live video, which was broadcast yesterday, then deleted, then put back up, but with stuff cut out. Crazy interview, worth a watch if you can find it. Yes, I interviewed David Icke back in 1994. A fascinating fellow, for sure. A curate's egg of a man, that's for sure. But, you know, the bigger point here, I think, the bigger point here is that, you know, what's going on. I'm talking about the deluge of information, but surely if he's so crazy and harmless, why not just, you know, leave the videos? Why can't people say what they need to say, and we can be adult enough to decide whether that's of use to us or not? Which reminds me, I'm going to be having a conversation over on the OurNet page today, working with my conversational nemesis, a man called Rajesh Kaura, who really gets on my nerves, quite frankly. But there's something about him that I find compelling and is the basis of our friendship. But we're talking about how to, it's connected with this. It may seem tangential, but it's connected with like how it is people can't have a decent conversation without calling each other names or falling out or whatever, or getting the hump or getting offended. So Rajesh and I will be it's like we talk different languages. It will be in English, but it's like he and I talk in different languages, and it's such a struggle sometimes for either of us to understand what the hell the other is saying. We will be demonstrating that live on the OurNet live stream on Facebook, OurNet, OURNET, talking about, I'm going to try and teach him how to listen, which is what I think is his problem. He's going to tell me, I think, that opinion is everything in conversation, and it's about the winning. It's not the taking part, it's the winning that counts, and browbeating your conversational partners with the best opinion. And he's not here to defend himself, but he will be at 11 o'clock later this morning if you want to tune into that. The conversational rumble in the jungle with me and Rajesh Kaura. And yes, Louisa is going to try and track down that David Icke interview. Don't worry, Louisa, it's a full moon, and I will have the red wine and chocolate ready for you when you inevitably get upset about what David Icke is saying. Bless you, and bless you all for listening this morning. And thank you so much for all your comments and hellos and good mornings. Let's do it again tomorrow around 9 o'clock. Take care. Have a great day, whatever day it is. It's just today, okay? Have a good one. Bye.